Hello and welcome to another hardcore Nuzlocke. Today I'm attempting a run of Pokemon LeafGreen using only Grass type. Similar to Ice and Fire type, Grass type definitely got the short end of the stick here in Generation 3. They have a very small move set, and they're kind of a one-trick pony with moves like Poison Powder, Stun Spore, Sleep Powder, and Spore. Even smaller is their encounter table with only 6 Pokemon available for us in this generation, and 2 of them are actually versions exclusives, and I didn't know that until I started this run. Oddish can only be found in Fire Red, and Bellsprout can actually only be found in Leaf Green. That's going to make this run very interesting. But starting out, we get one of the best encounters as far as grass types are concerned, Bulbasaur. We nickname it Littlefoot, and it has a timid plus speed minus attack nature. That's going to be perfect if we can get past the first rival battle. And speaking of rivals, of course, just like in every run before this one, we have nicknamed our rival Algorithm because we are trying to beat the algorithm both in-game and in real life. Now, when it comes to in-game Algo, you can't do much to help me, but when it comes to the real-life Algo, you can. How you can help, you may ask? Well, it's very simple. You can like the video, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share it with your friends. Any and all interaction with the channel is greatly appreciated. We've been seeing a very nice influx of people. Seeing the channel grow exponentially is very exciting and very awesome. Of course, with that, I'm seeing new people come in and commenting old things. Not calling anybody out, but people saying that the videos are too long, that my energy is not, up there like PewDiePie or whatever. And then, of course, that's coupled with, it's your channel, you can run it how you want. So I'm glad I have their permission to do this the way I want, because otherwise I don't know what I would do. All jokes aside, it is very much appreciated, and that critical hit definitely mattered because we almost lost to the Charmander here in the first battle. Technically speaking, we don't have Pokeballs, but since we can use our starter in this run, I don't know how this would have gone if I would have fainted, if I would have just kept going, because a timid Bulbasaur is going to help us in the long run. Now I'm going to have a little segment here that's about 3 minutes, and it's not story time. I just wanted to come in and say that I needed a quick run, because I've got quite a bit of stuff going on with the holidays coming up and whatnot. This week has been chaotic, and I'm hoping to get this run out, so what better way than a Fire Red or Leaf Green run, because I know these games like the back of my hand. As a matter of fact, looking at my spreadsheet where I've done all my different runs, there's only a couple of monotype runs I have left in this game. We have the grass type that we're doing right now, water type, and ice type. And to be honest, we did an egg lock ice type run of Pokemon Emerald, so I don't know if we want to see the same ice types run through Kanto or not. The other 2 types that are on the list, of course, are Dark and Fairy. Again, we just did a Dark type run of Pokemon Emerald. There's not many Dark types that we didn't get to use. Maybe using all the Johtonian Pokemon in Kanto to see how they would fare could be a run. And then, of course, the last type is Fairy, which doesn't exist. It's just a somber feeling that we're getting to the end of Fire Red and Leaf Green monotype challenges, because this is where I started the Nuzlocke stuff about a year ago with a normal only type run. Of course, as we come to a close here on the remakes in Gen 3, we are breaking into Gen 5, and very soon I'm hoping Gen 6 games and beyond. The Generation 3 games for me are beloved because this was kind of the end of my high school career and where I kind of stopped playing Pokemon for a little while until a little bit further in my adult life. But with things like physical special splits and better movesets, and some of these Pokemon like grass types and fire types coming into their own in later generations, I am getting excited to play those different runs. This run is going to be difficult because it's going to be RNG based. It's kind of a one-trick pony. We're going to put opponents to sleep and then we're going to attack them. And then if they wake up, we got to put them back to sleep because these Pokemon aren't going to hit very hard. So, narrating and keeping this thing interesting is going to be a challenge in and of itself. Honestly, though, I'm excited to use the Kanto Grass-type Pokemon and get through this game. Like I said, doing a run of Leaf Green I thought would be fun, it would be quick, and why not? We don't do a lot of Leaf Green runs, they're mostly Fire Red. After taking on the one mandatory trainer in Viridian Forest and then EV training on rats and pigeons, we have a bunch of speed EVs, not like we're not going to outspeed these rocks anyway, we're just trying to help that timid nature. Of course, Geodude and Onix are both ground rock type Pokemon, so they go down to a single Vine Whip apiece. After claiming our badge, we also get an excellent evolution where Littlefoot evolves into an Ivysaur. Experience point management is getting to be a little bit difficult, but luckily here in Mount Moon we can find our next encounter, a Paris. Surprisingly, Paris is going to be the only Pokemon on our team that has a physical moveset, and they're also one of the few Pokemon that have an actual diverse moveset. They can learn moves like Aerial Ace and Dig, making this Pokemon a very viable encounter for us, and I definitely want to get it. Unfortunately, it is quad weak to both flying and fire, and it's kind of frail, so I don't know how much this Pokemon's really going to do, but it is another encounter nonetheless. We do catch it, and there is a nickname theme, so we nickname this thing Sarah. Now, Sarah, taking a look at it, has a quirky neutral nature. Can you guys guess the name theme? I didn't say that before. It should be relatively easy for fellow millennials. The rival battle that we have here in Cerulean with Algo is very, very scary. He's got a Pidgeotto and a Charmander that have super effective moves against my entire team, and I am quickly approaching the level cap. The only strategy that we have going forward, of course, is going to be Leech Seed, Sleep Powder, and then whittle these Pokemon down. We don't want Pidgeotto to go for Sand Attack, and luckily Leech Seed connects, and we get hit with a Gust turn 1. Turn 2, I miss a Sleep Powder, so we get hit with an annoying Sand Attack. Again, we can't win them all. We connect with Sleep Powder the very next turn, and Vine Whip unfortunately isn't doing a lot of damage, but couple that with Leech Seed, we are whittling this thing down very nicely. As we drop it below half health, we swap into Sarah to shake off the Sand Attack accuracy drop, and then we swap back into Littlefoot and take out the Pidgeotto with one more Vine Whip. Charmander comes out next, so I decide to put it to sleep instead of Leech Seed first. Then we connect with a Leech Seed as this thing stays asleep and start whittling it down. Vine Whip doesn't do much, and Charmander wakes up and hits us with an Ember down to 32 HP. That's doing a little bit more damage than I would have liked. Luckily, we connect with a Sleep Powder, putting this thing immediately back to sleep. We go back to whittling this thing down, and as we drop it into red health, it, of course, wakes up and hits us with a Ember down to 18 HP. I think if that would have crit, it would have taken us out. No matter, we take it out with a little bit of Leech Seed Sap, and out comes Abra. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and Leech Seed the Abra, and we're just going to let this thing slowly die and whittle its health down whilst we heal ourselves back up, because there's nothing that Abra can do. This battle took over 6.5 minutes of real-world time. The Abra does get to low health, and we get back up to 51 HP, where I finally decide to take this thing out with a Vine Whip. Out comes a Rattata, and it hits us with a Quick Attack that doesn't do a lot of damage, and Vine Whip does over half, so one more Quick Attack, dropping us to 35 HP, and one more Vine Whip wins us the rival battle. Getting through the trainers on Nugget Bridge gets us access to Route 24 and 25, where we can find our next encounter, a Bellsprout. This is a LeafGreen exclusive. This is the same exact route where you can find Oddish in Fire Red. So, yeah, it's a Bellsprout. We're going to put it on the team. I don't know what this thing is actually going to do. Looking at the level up movesets for these Pokemon, we are going to have to leave a lot of these Pokemon unevolved until they learn certain moves. And that's frustrating to plan this run out. Luckily, both of these Pokemon, Sarah and Bellsprout, we've caught with a single Pokeball, so that's nice. Sticking with the nickname theme, we go ahead and nickname the Bellsprout Ducky. And taking a look at Ducky, it has a bashful neutral nature. Okay, I will take it. Now, just because we have the type advantage against Misty's Pokemon doesn't mean that this is going to be an easy battle. Against your Staryu, I lead Littlefoot because it's the best bet that we have, and Vine Whip takes Staryu deep into red health. It just goes for Harden, so the Staryu is not the problem. Misty then fully heals it with a Super Potion, and we take it right back down to red health with Vine Whip, and then one more Vine Whip takes it out. Her more scary and more bulky Pokemon Starmie then comes out. Luckily for us, it doesn't have stab psychic moves, and it just goes for Swift, doing about 12 HP of damage. Vine Whip doesn't quite take this thing down to half. So as we get hit with another Swift, I decide to fire off a Leech Seed, which does connect. And with the sapping from the Leech Seed, we get Starmie low enough to where we can tank one more Swift. Even if it had crit, it would have been fine, and we can take it out with another Vine Whip. Beating Misty and getting access to Route 5 is huge. In a run like this where we don't have a lot of move options, let alone type coverage, Hidden Power is your absolute best friend. Now, when we got Littlefoot, not only did we get one of the best natures that we can get for it in a timid nature, but it also has a Hidden Power water. It is base 58, but that's okay, we'll take it. Sarah has a base 64 grass type hidden power, and Ducky has a base 38 dragon hidden power. So their hidden powers don't matter, but Littlefoot's is definitely going to come in clutch. I'm hoping that one of our other Pokemon have a good hidden power as well. We would have been very, very lucky if Sarah would have had a rock type hidden power, but alas, we're going to catch 3 Meowths and have the best potential chance for getting our hands on TM10 hidden power. Making our way to Vermilion City and eventually the SSN, we have another great evolution on the team with Ducky evolving into a Weeping Bell. And grabbing a couple of items on the SSN, we finally get the TM for hidden power on one of the Meowths. That is absolutely clutch for the upcoming Algo battle. Getting hidden power onto Littlefoot before the rival battle is huge, but it doesn't mean that this battle is free. It just means that we have a little bit more of a strategy than whittling this thing down with Razor Leaf. Turn 1, I decide to go for Sleep Powder instead of Leech Seed just to put this thing to sleep. Luckily, we connect and it goes to sleep. Turn 2, we set up a Leech Seed, and then Pidgeotto wakes up, hitting us with a Sand Attack. That sucks. I wish it would have just hit us with Gust. We then miss a Sleep Powder and get hit with the aforementioned Gust, doing a decent little bit of damage, but after Leech Seed recovery, we're taking 11 HP of damage. We miss another Sleep Powder and get hit with another Sand Attack, so now we are at -2. We miss another Sleep Powder and get hit with Gust again. This is annoying. We finally connect with Sleep Powder, and Pidgeotto is getting whittled down at this point, getting below half with Leech Seed damage, so I swap in Ducky, and then quickly swap back into Littlefoot to shake off the -2 accuracy. Pidgeotto, of course, wakes up immediately and hits us with a Gust. Yeah. Yep. Oh, I decided to just take out the Pidgeotto at this point as we're sitting above half health, and there's nothing better that we can do. Kadabra then comes in, and I put this thing to sleep, and then we set up a Leech Seed. And now we're just going to do the same thing we did with the Abra in the last battle. We're just going to try to gain as much HP as we can as the Kadabra stays asleep. We need a little bit of good sleep luck here, and we do get it, eventually just taking this thing out with a Razor Leaf. Charmeleon comes out, and we miss Sleep Powder and get hit with a Smokescreen, which is absolutely annoying. We connect with Sleep Powder on the very next turn, luckily, and then we can just go for a Hidden Power to see how much it does. It gets a critical hit, so it one-shots the Charmeleon. Okay, never mind. Because of the -1 to accuracy, we miss our Sleep Powder against the Raticate, and it goes for Tail Whip. We miss our second Sleep Powder, and we get hit with another Tail Whip. Fearing a Hyper Fang, I swap into Ducky, who gets hit with a Hyper Fang, but we tank it fairly well. We get hit with another Hyper Fang down to 15 HP and miss Sleep Powder. So I swap in Littlefoot, who gets hit with a Hyper Fang on the swap that gets a critical hit. We miss another Sleep Powder because we have used up all our luck, and we get hit with a Hyper Fang down to 11 HP. Best case scenario, this thing misses a Hyper Fang, but I have to swap, so I bring in Sarah, and it finally misses a Hyper Fang. Beautiful. We then get hit with a Hyper Fang down to 33 HP, and we get flinched. Are you kidding me? Raticate hits us with another Hyper Fang down to 15 HP, and we connect with a Secret Power, dropping Raticate to low yellow health. There's nothing else that I can do in this battle. None of my Pokemon can get swapped out, so it misses a Hyper Fang. Oh my god. We almost lost Sarah in this battle, but we clutched it out. Paris is an absolute phenom. That was a very, very lucky battle. Very, very stressful. As a reward at the level cap, Sarah evolves into a Parasect, and this is my answer into Lieutenant Surge, so I'm very glad we didn't lose this thing on the SSN. I really should have just risked a Ducky, but it wouldn't have mattered because Sarah was outsped. Lieutenant Surge is next, and as I said previously, Sarah is our answer because it can learn Dig. Now we do get outsped and hit with a Shockwave turn 1 because electric Pokemon are very fast. We resist it being part grass type so it doesn't do any damage, and then we burrow underground from Dig. We pop up and hit the Voltorb, and luckily Dig is enough to one-shot the Voltorb. Now unfortunately, with Pikachu and Raichu having double team, Dig might not be my best option. It goes for double team turn 1, and then I burrow underground. It goes for double team turn 2, and we miss Dig because of it. I decide to swap up moves here as Pikachu goes for a third double team, and we connect with a secret power that is enough to one-shot the Pikachu. As Raichu comes out, we're not going to go for Dig, we're just going to try the secret power thing. Double team, secret power connects through the +1 to evasion and does over half and gets the paralysis. That is huge because Lieutenant Surge is going to go for a full heal. We break through the +1 evasion and connect with another secret power to take it out. For those of you that doubted Sarah's power, here it is in real time. Making our way through Rock Tunnel and Lavender Town, we can keep heading south out to Route 12, come up to this little guard post here and talk to this lady and get our hands on the TM for return, which is going to be a nice little upgrade for Sarah. In my last run of Fire Red, I ran back to Route 25 and caught an Oddish. I traded it to myself over here in LeafGreen. Its nickname is Petrie. It has a rash plus special attack and minus special defense nature. This is a great addition to the team and the only way that we're going to get a full team. Against Erica and her grass types, I decided to lead Sarah because it can learn the TM for Aerialace. Figured it was our best bet, and I also figured that Victory Bell would be going for moves like Acid because it's super effective against us. Turns out I was incorrect because turn 1 it goes for a Stun Spore, paralyzing us, making things very, very annoying. We do breakthrough paralysis and put this thing to sleep with Spore. It then stays asleep and we can hit this thing with an Aerial Ace doing well over half of its health. We do get fully paralyzed the next turn, but no matter, Victory Bell cooperates, staying asleep so we can take it out with one more Aerial Ace. As the Vileplume comes out, it does what I thought Victory Bell would do and it goes for the super effective Acid. We put it to sleep with Spore, and I did not know that Erica had a full heal, so she heals off the sleep as we connect with an Aerial Ace. I figured it's not worth going for Spore again, so we get hit with an Acid, but this time it crits us all the way down to 9 HP. Oof. Aerial Ace takes out the Vileplume. We gain a level, so we're at 11 HP as the Tangela comes out, and then our Oranberry activates, pulling us up to 21 HP. This thing only has Vine Whip. It can't do much to us, so I just stay in as it goes for Ingrain, and I put it to sleep with Spore. I swap up our moves for Return, and we get a critical hit to take out the Tangela. The rival battle in the Pokemon Tower is pretty important. After we do the events of the Pokemon Tower, we open up the mid-game where things are a little less linear, and we can start filling out our team pretty nicely. We have a nice encounter coming up for us that I really want to get my hands on. We're a bit over-leveled for this point, so the rival battle shouldn't be difficult, but we go with the same old strategy where we hit Sleep Powder turn 1, Pidgeotto stays asleep so we can hit it with a Leech Seed the very next turn. We then fire off a Hidden Power, taking Pidgeotto pretty low in yellow health, but it wakes up and hits us with a Gust. That's okay because after the Leech Seed recovery, we're sitting at 70 HP as we take it out with one more Hidden Power. Execute comes out next. I go ahead and put this thing to sleep because I don't know what it's going to do, and I fire off a Razor Leaf that does over half of its health, surprisingly. It wakes up and goes for Hypnosis, which misses, so we can take it out with one more Razor Leaf. Kadabra then comes out next. I go for Sleep Powder to put this thing to sleep, and then I go on the offensive going for Hidden Power. It doesn't quite take out the Kadabra, so I should have went with Razor Leaf because of Stab, but no matter, we take it out, and out comes Charmeleon. I decide rather than putting this thing to sleep, because I am 6 levels higher than this thing, we just go for Hidden Power, which does take it out in a single shot. Gyarados comes out next, and I immediately go for Sleep Powder. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have gone for Sleep Powder or Leech Seed that I do, because this thing only has Bite by level up at this point. We do take it out with a couple of Razor Leafs, and we're at full health at the end of the battle. so this one went really easy. We have our first full evolution on the team with Littlefoot evolving into a Venusaur. Some of these Pokemon are not going to evolve for a while. If you notice, Petrie is still sitting at level 29 and not evolved. Making our way to Fuchsia City, we can head to the Safari Zone and we have a chance at our next encounter and Execute. This is the Safari Zone though, so this thing can definitely run away. Now, as mentioned moments ago, you'll see that Ducky and Petrie aren't evolved, and Execute also falls under that same line where they're all stone evolutions, so after they evolve via the stone, they're not going to learn any other moves. For Petrie, I am waiting for Moonlight and Petal Dance before I evolve that thing. Ducky, we're waiting for Razor Leaf. It's just because we don't have a lot of options for grass-type moves. When it comes to TMs, we found the TM for Bullet Seed in Mount Moon. We get the TM for Giga Drain from Erica, and we get the TM for Solar Beam in the Burn Mansion on Cinnabar Island. But we only get one of them, so we're going to have to be very selective in how we use these different TMs. Luckily for us, we do actually catch the Execute, but we go through 10 Safari Balls before we finally catch this damn thing and can add it to the team. We're going to nickname this thing Ruby, and Ruby has a gentle, plus special defense, and minus defense nature. I really don't care what its nature is, I'm just happy to have this Pokemon. After Petrie learns Petal Dance at level 39, it learned Moonlight at level 32, I decide to finally let this thing evolve into a Gloom. It is a welcome addition to the team because we haven't been able to use this thing yet. Immediately following, we can give this thing a Leaf Stone, making it the third fully evolved Pokemon on our team. Leading into the Koga battle, you guys will see that Ruby is still an unevolved set of eggs. It learns Solar Beam at level 43, which is the level cap, but I don't want to bring this thing to level 43 and overlevel it before we take on the rival in Sylph. So an unevolved Ruby should still be able to one-shot both of the Coughings with Psychic. Wheezing should go down in a single stab super effective Psychic as well. The only Pokemon that is not is going to be Muck. As we fire off a stab super effective Psychic, just like I said, it doesn't go down to a single hit. Luckily for us, it just goes for Sludge, but unfortunately for us, it does get the Poison. If that had crit, we also would have gone down. I do have an held Pecha Berry just for this. I thought for sure Muck would go for Toxic, but I go unpunished and could take it out with one more Psychic. Very nice. As I said before, the next Coughing comes out and goes down to a stab super effective Psychic, and then Wheezing comes out, and because its special defense is a lot lower than its physical defense, it goes down to a stab super effective Psychic as well, winning us the 6th Gym Badge. This gives us access to surf outside of battle, so surfing south of Pallet Town, we can make our way to Route 21, and this little patch of grass houses for us our next encounter, which of course is a Tangela. Unfortunately, Tangela here doesn't do much. Until it gets its evolution of Tangrowth, it's not much. It's a little bit bulky, but other than that, I really don't know what this thing is going to do on the team, but we do get a full team because of this Pokemon, so we need to catch it. Luckily for us, we of course do catch it with the very first Great Ball that we throw, and we can nickname this thing Spike and throw it on the team. Spike has a sassy plus special defense and minus speed nature. The minus speed is not great, but we now have a full team. At level 42, Ducky finally learns Razor Leaf. I know that seems crazy, I left this unevolved until then, but now we can feed it a Leaf Stone and evolve it into a Beastly Victory Bell. Just before the rival battle, I decided to do a little bit of training and get everybody close to the level cap, so Ruby learns Solar Beam at level 43, and I feed it the last Leaf Stone, evolving this thing into a Beastly Executor, and that is the team fully evolved. The rival battle in Sylph is very scary. I'm a little bit nervous. At level 41, Littlefoot learns Growth, so we've changed up our strategy ever so slightly. Instead of Leech Seed, I now have Growth. We're still going to put the Pidgeot to sleep and then set up Growth because I need 3 of them to one-shot the entire team. Sleep Powder connects, and we set up a Growth the very next turn. Unfortunately, as we're going for the next Growth, Pidgeot wakes up and hits us with a Wing Attack. So we put this thing back to sleep, and then we can continue setting up Growths until we get to +3. At this point, I fire off a Hidden Power Water, and we can one-shot the Pidgeot. Execute comes out, so I swap up for Razor Leaf, does a little bit more damage with Stab, and we one-shot it. Alakazam we one-shot with a +3 Hidden Power Water. Next up is Charizard, who goes down to a +3 super effective Hidden Power Water. And last up is Gyarados, who goes down to a single Razor... Never mind. Survives on 1 HP and then hits us with a critical hit Bite down to 67 HP, and then we can take this thing out with one more Razor Leaf. We're getting towards the end of the game, and of course we're in the boss rush style of things. Up until Giovanni, everybody is very scary, and then everybody after Giovanni is also very scary. Alakazam can one-shot most of the Pokemon on my team, but I have a plan. Unfortunately, we don't put the Kadabra to sleep turn 1, so it sets up a Future Sight. We then put it to sleep turn 2, and now we can start setting up for my plan. My plan is to set up to +2 with Growth, and then one-shot the Kadabra, the Mr. Mime, get to the Alakazam, and hope it either goes for Calm Mind or Future Sight, and then we can one-shot it, potentially with a Thief. It is a range, but we're risking a few things. Again, half my team would go down to the Alakazam regardless. Future Sight does a decent little bit of damage as we set up another Growth, and then we can take this Kadabra out, like I said, with a +2, super effective, Black Glasses boosted Thief. Mr. Mime comes out and gets one shot as well. The critical hit did not matter, and out comes Alakazam. This is where everything comes down to. What does it go for? It goes for Future Sight. That is it. It is over. We can one-shot this thing with a +2 Black Glasses boosted Thief, or not. It survives on 1 sliver of HP. Sabrina then goes for a Hyper Potion, fully healing this thing up, and we fire off another Thief, hoping for a little bit better of a range this time. Ducky decides to get a critical hit, taking out the Alakazam. This was very risky, but I'm trying to use all of the Pokemon on my team here. Outlast for Sabrina is her Venomoth, and I know it's going to go for the super effective Psybeam, so I swap in Sarah, who tanks the Psybeam very well, then tanks the Future Sight, gets outsped and hit with a Gust down to 16 HP before it can put the Venomoth to sleep. Now I know Erica has a full heal, so I stay in as she goes for said full heal and fire off a return that unfortunately doesn't get the KO. I need to swap, so I bring Ruby in as Erica goes for her final Hyper Potion, and then I can fire off a Stab super effective Psychic that takes it out. We did overlevel with Littlefoot in the rival battle, so that's why it's not on the roster for this battle. Just a quick trip to Cinnabar later, and we face our next gym leader, Blaine, who is very scary. With all of his Fire-type Pokemon having Fire Blast, most of my Pokemon can be one-shot by even Growlithe. Luckily, the Intimidates don't matter, and we can put this thing to sleep. I do need to set up one single Growth to be able to one-shot the entire team if everything was calculated correctly. We set up the Growth, and Growlithe stays asleep, and now we can fire off a +1 super effective Mystic Water boosted Hidden Power to one-shot the Growlithe. It one-shots the Ponyta that comes out next. It also one-shots the Rapidash, which is very, very good. And the Moment of Truth does it one-shot the Arcanine. We fire it off, and sure enough, it does one-shot, winning us a fairly easy 7th gym badge. Last for the gym boss rush is Giovanni, and he's going to be super easy. Up until we get to the Elite Four and take on Bruno, we don't have any other easy trainers. Against his Rhyhorn, I lead Spike because Spike hasn't seen a lot of playtime, and I go for Growth. Luckily for us, Rhyhorn doesn't go for Scary Face, it decides to go for Takedown, which is perfectly fine. We can then outspeed the next turn with a quad super effective Mega Drain and take this thing out. The reason for the single Growth setup obviously wasn't the Rhyhorn, it's the Nidos that come out next. I could not two-shot the Nidoqueen without a setup, but Spike decides to get a critical hit and take it out with a single Mega Drain anyway. Okay. Nidoking comes out next, and we go for Mega Drain that does well over half of its health, and then we get hit with Thrash. Thrash doesn't do a lot of damage to us, and we can take it out with one more Mega Drain, almost fully healing our Pokemon. Dugtrio comes out next, and we outspeed this thing because we've invested some EVs and we're 9 levels higher, and take it out with a single Mega Drain. And last up is his level 50 Rhyhorn, that of course goes down to a quad super effective Mega Drain, winning us the 8th and final gym. The final rival battle before the Elite Four culminates on Route 22, and once again we're going into this battle with the exact same strategy that we did before. Put the Pidgeot to sleep, set up 2 gross, sweep the team. It's a tried and true method. Of course, it is a little bit RNG based. We do connect with Sleep Powder the first turn, and we need the Pidgeot to stay asleep, which it does as we set up 2 growths. Very, very nice. After the second growth, we can then fire off a +2 hidden power that one-shots the Pidgeot. We are 11 levels higher because the level cap is 60, so we should be able to wipe through this team relatively easy. A Razor Leaf takes out the Alakazam. Hidden Power, of course, takes out the Charizard. Rhyhorn gets taken out with a quad super effective Razor Leaf. Execute comes out and goes down to a Razor Leaf as well. And last out is Gyarados. We miss a Razor Leaf turn 1, then get tagged with a Leer. That's no matter because we fire off a Razor Leaf the next turn. But again, it doesn't KO the Gyarados. It has a terrible moveset, so it just goes for Rain Dance, and we can take it out with one more Razor Leaf, and we are now ready to make our way through Victory Road, which culminates at the Indigo Plateau, and after a little bit of training, here is the team all ready to go. Ducky the Victory Bell with Razor Leaf Growth, Sleep Powder, and Thief. Littlefoot the Venusaur with Razor Leaf Growth, Hidden Power Water, and Sleep Powder. Ruby the Executor with Psychic, Sunny Day, Solar Beam, and Sleep Powder. Petrie the Vileplume with Petal Dance, Hidden Power Ice, Moonlight, and Sleep Powder. Spike the Tangela with Mega Drain, Growth, Poison Powder, and Tickle. What a terrible moveset. Last but not least is Sarah the Parasect with Return, Spore, Aerial Ace, and Dig. Can these 6 Pokemon beat the Elite Four? Can Grass types topple the Kanto League? Let's find out. First up for the Elite Four is Lorelei and her Ice types. Again, we're a bit over-leveled for this portion in the game, but her Ice types do pose a threat. So we put Dugong to sleep turn 1, and I need to set up 3 growths with Ducky here to hopefully be able to one-shot the entire team with Giga Drain. I did get rid of Razor Leaf because this is going to do a little bit more damage, and it's 100% accurate. We set up 1 growth, then a second growth, and Dugong wakes up, going for Safeguard so we can't put it back to sleep. We set up our 3rd growth and Dugong goes for Hail, which is a bit annoying, but no matter, we will heal up the chip damage as we use Giga Drain. Dugong goes down to a +3 Giga Drain, Slowbro goes down to a +3 Giga Drain as well. Lapras comes out, and this is why we set up to take this thing out in a single hit. Jinx is out next. This one is also worrisome for us, but with a +3 stab Giga Drain, it goes down. Last for Lorelei is Cloyster. Unfortunately, Cloyster screws up the whole plan going for Protect as I go for my last Giga Drain. So that's very annoying. I have to switch it up for Thief, which doesn't get the range and doesn't one-shot the Cloyster, so it sets up Hail. It goes for Protect again, being annoying after Lorelei uses a full Restore, so I set up a 4th Growth, and we can take it out with one more Thief. We don't talk about Bruno, because Bruno is ridiculously easy. I've beaten this game with a Beedrill on hardcore Nuzlocke rule set, so anything is possible. Turn 1 I set up a Sunny Day. This isn't to outspeed because of Chlorophyll, this is simply to have 1 turn Solar Beams. We do get hit with a Rock Tomb that lowers our speed. Again, the Sun Up will help with that. We can take out the Onix with a quad super effective Stab Solar Beam. Out next for Bruno is Hitmonchan. It goes down to a Stab super effective Psychic. Hitmonlee comes out next, and it falls the exact same way to a Stab super effective Psychic. His last Onix comes out, and this is why I wanted the Sun Up, because a Stab super effective, quad super effective Solar Beam takes it out. The Sunlight fades as Machamp comes out, but no matter, we still outspeed and can fire off a Stab super effective Psychic, taking that thing out. Lorelei and her poison types don't pose much of a problem against Ruby. Turn 1, I do outspeed this Gengar, but I set up the Sun because I'm not going to outspeed the next Gengar. I figured this thing would go for like Confuse Ray, so I have a Lumberry equipped, but it goes for Double Team. That's a little bit worrisome, but luckily Ruby is an absolute unit and breaks through that +1 evasion to fire off that Stab super effective Psychic, taking out the first Gengar. Out next is Arbok. The Intimidate doesn't matter. It goes down to a single Stab super effective Psychic as well. Her Ace Gengar comes out, and this is why the Sun is up, because we now outspeed this thing and can take it out with a Psychic. The rest of her team doesn't matter. Golbat goes down to a single stab super effective psychic, and her Haunter goes down the exact same way. Ruby has proven herself to be an absolute unit here in the Elite Four, and that doesn't stop as we go up against Lance. Lance's Aerodactyl is definitely going to come out next, and we need a plan to take that thing down. The plan is simple. We put Gyarados to sleep turn 1. Turn 2, we set up the Sun so that we hopefully outspeed the Aerodactyl, and then I go for Psychic to hopefully not put Gyarados into healing range. Gyarados wakes up and goes for Dragon Rage. That wasn't a part of the plan, but it doesn't matter because one more Psychic takes out the Gyarados. Now as Aerodactyl comes out, do we outspeed this thing? The answer is yes, and does a neutral Miracle Seed boosted Stab Solar Beam take out the Aerodactyl? The answer is yes. Dragonite comes out next, and the planning is not over yet. We need to put this thing to sleep, which we do turn 1, and then swap in Petrie. Unfortunately, Dragonite wakes up and goes for Safeguard. It was a free swap in, but we can't put it back to sleep, so we fire off a quad super effective Hidden Power Ice that doesn't quite KO. We then get hit with a stab super effective wing attack. Luckily it didn't crit, and we survive on 64 HP. Citrus Berry doesn't pull Dragonite out of healing range, so Lance goes for a full restore. I then fire off another quad super effective Hidden Power, and this time gets the range to take out the Dragonite. It was always a range. We go unpunished. Both of the Dragonairs are going to go down to a single Nevermelt Ice boosted Hidden Power Ice, so I'm not too worried about it, and that is the Elite Four completely defeated. Now, as we take on the champion Algo, you'll notice that Littlefoot is level 70. It's because I had 10 rare candies and I'm not playing any games. We've made it this far, and I want to beat this rival. Just like before, our plan is the exact same. We put the Pidgeot to sleep, and then we need to set up growths. I need to set up 3 to be able to one-shot most of the entire team. Luckily for us, Pidgeot cooperates and stays asleep as we set up 3 growths. We then take the Pidgeot out with a Hidden Power, and out comes Alakazam. It goes down to a single Razor Leaf. Charizard comes out and goes down to a single Hidden Power, and then Executor comes out and doesn't fall to a Razor Leaf. It then connects with its own Sleep Powder, and there goes the end of my luck. I do try to stay in and wake up, which we don't, getting hit with an Egg Bomb, dropping us below half health. I don't want any deaths in this run, so I decide to swap in Sarah. Egg Bomb misses as we swap in, and then I go for Aerial Ace, taking out the Executor. Rhydon comes out next. I put it to sleep with Spore, and then I go for Dig. Rhydon wakes up as we're underground, which is a little bit scary, and Dig does pitiful damage, so we get hit with a Rock Tomb that takes us all the way down to 60 HP and gets the speed lowering, so I need to swap once again. Spike comes in and tanks a Rock Tomb very well, and then takes out the Rhydon with a quad super effective Mega Drain. Last for our rival is his Gyarados, and I try to stay in and go for Poison Powder and get hit with the Hydro Pump, which is annoying. Miss the Poison Powder, so I swap in Ruby, who gets hit with a Hydro Pump on the swap in. You'd think this thing would miss one, maybe. I decide to fire off a Psychic. Figured this would be a repeat of the Lance battle, but Ruby gets a critical hit. Again, absolute unit, and we defeat the rival using the whole team. That was really nice to see the whole team come together in the last battle, and we did it deathless. Let's be perfectly honest. The only reason we made it deathless to the Hall of Fame here is due in part to a lot of good RNG. We could have lost Sarah very early on. Ducky had a couple of close calls. Petrie had some close calls. We could have very easily lost some Pokemon along the way. Now, if I'm being perfectly honest, again, with all of these Grass-type Pokemon, Littlefoot and Ruby are very, very good Pokemon, but the rest of them kind of fall short. I wish they were better, but they just aren't. The team did good though, and Kanto is a very easy region to get through if you're trying to Nuzlocke. I had a lot of fun doing this run, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. If you did, you know the routine. Leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing if you're new to the channel, or if you keep coming back every week, just check and see if you are subscribed, because a lot of you aren't. Anyway, again, thank you guys for the continued support. I've got to get this thing done so we have a video for this week. So let's get to it. And as always, I will see you on the next one.